Today, we're going to perform a repeated measures ANOVA test and dive into some of the data. So our research question today is, does chocolate have a significant effect on attitude over time? And what we have here is we have our attitude 0, which is a pre-test. So participants are going to be taking a pre-test before given anything and what their attitude score is. Then they are given a piece of chocolate, and 5 minutes later, they take that same survey again. That's 5 minutes later. And then they're going to take the same survey again an hour later and the same survey again 4 hours later. So our null hypothesis would be chocolate does not have any effect on attitude over time. And then the alternative would be that chocolate does have a significant effect on attitude over time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up our analysis. So we're going to go to Analyze, General Linear Model, and click on Repeated Measures. And what we need to do is we need to give our factor name a different name. We're going to go ahead and name that time. Since we're looking at 4 different levels of time, we need to have 4 different levels. Go ahead and click Add, and then hit Define. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that the time is in order. So 0 being the pre-test needs to go first, and then 5 minutes, then we're going to have the hour, and then we're going to have 4 hours. So here are those attitudes in order. Next, we need to click on EM means, and we need to move the time over, display means for our factor of time. Make sure that you hit compare main effects and hit continue. After that, you need to make sure that you click on options, and we want descriptive statistics, and we want the effect size as well. So I'm going to click on that and hit continue. After those have been checked, I'm going to hit OK. And now we have our general linear model here. Now, note that attitude 0, our pretest, is time 1. And then we have our 5 minutes is 2, our 1 hour is 3, and our 4 hours is time 4. Before we can proceed with the repeated measures ANOVA test, we need to check the Mauchly's test of sphericity. So we scroll down here, here's that Mauchly's test, and that significance number is 0.683, which is greater than 0.05. So we can assume that the assumptions have been met for sphericity. So we're going to go ahead and move on with the ANOVA analysis. So we're going to look at tests of within subjects effects. And of course, we have sphericity assumed. So this is the line that we are going to look at. Here we have a degrees of freedom of 3. And then we have our F value of 5.681, and our significant value is 0.002. So since this 0.002 is less than the 0.05, then we're going to reject the null hypothesis, and we can state that there is a significant difference of chocolate, the effects of chocolate over time. I'm going to take note of that partial eta squared. That's the effect size of a 0.205. And we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So I'm going to scroll down, and here is where the data is interesting. So here we have our estimates here. Again, time 1, this is the pre-test. And then we have the 5-minute mark, the 1 hour mark, and then the 4 hour mark. So as you can see, the attitude mean, the pretest, was 76.565. Then the participants are given chocolate, and 5 minutes later, they take the same test, and their mean goes up, way up, 83.870. And then after an hour, it starts to go back down, 79.087, while that is higher than our original mean. And then 4 hours later, we're slightly down on that mean average again at 78.435. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this pairwise comparisons. And we have from the pretest to the 5-minute mark, that significance is less than 0.05. So there is a significant difference between the pretest and the 5-minute mark. However, there's not a significance between the pretest and the 1 hour mark because that's greater than 0.05. And there's not a significant difference between the pretest and the 4 hour mark because that's above the 0.05 as well. Now, when we look at the 5-minute mark to the 1 hour mark, because that wasn't stated up here, so we're going to go to the 5-minute mark to the 1 hour mark, that is less than 0.05. So there is a significant difference there. There's also a significant difference between the 5-minute mark and the 4 hour mark because that is less than 0.05 as well. Last, we're going to compare the 1 hour mark to the 4 hour mark, and that is not significantly different because that is greater than 0.05. So there's the different pairwise comparisons there. And as noted above, the partial eta squared is a 0.205, which is a large effect overall that chocolate would have its effect on attitude. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to state my conclusion in APA style. Mauchly's test indicated that the assumption of sphericity, I'm sorry, that is hard to say, was met with a p-value of 0.002. Let me double check this. Making sure I'm reporting the correct way. Mauchly's test here. Now, that significance was a 0.683, which was greater than 0.05. So then that's where our assumptions were met. There was a statistically significant effect of time with an F value of 0.5681, the degrees of freedom time of 3, and then the degrees of freedom error 66. There's that p-value of 0.002. And of course, the partial eta squared of a 0.205, which is a large effect. Attitude improved significantly from the pretest at a mean of 76.565. And then 5 minutes after they have eaten the chocolate, their means were 83.870. Then 1 hour after, the mean was 79.087. And then 4 hours later, the mean was 78.435. The post hoc pairwise comparisons revealed a significant difference between the pretest and the 5-minute mark, with that significance being less than 0.05. But not between the pretest and the 1 hour mark, and not between the pretest and the 4 hour mark. There is a significant difference between the 5-minute mark and the 1 hour mark, and there is a significant difference between the 5-minute mark and the 4 hour mark. Last, there is no significant difference between the 1 hour mark and the 4 hour mark. Now, last but not least, we probably need to discuss whether this is all clinically or substantially important. Is it meaningful? What are the implications? And to me, as an educator leader, the effects on chocolate versus attitude. So, as a leader, if I were to give my teacher some sort of reward or a treat right before I ask them to do hard tasks, and I want their attitudes to be higher performing for those tasks, then I would look into something about giving them a treat right beforehand. Because again, that higher mean was 5 minutes after giving the chocolate. So in education terms, if I want a better attitude on results for hard tasks for my teachers or students or whatever the scenario might be, then my leadership style, I might look into giving some kind of reward in that aspect.